Alfonso's here, the godfather of the game. Many years of wisdom, remember his name. Speakers on stage, they'll drop the keys. Unlock your power and seize the breeze.
Turn everything off and go and do something, because the most powerful thing that you can do in your life is take action. And if nothing happens, nothing happens. And you will continue to get the same results if you continue to do the same things over and over. Mark, thank you for having me.
Alfonso, really appreciate you coming on. I know you got a busy schedule here. Can you share a little bit about your background, like in regards to, say, business entrepreneurship, but then getting into real estate investing as well? Like, what's the backstory of Alfonso?
Yeah, so came to Canada as a refugee. My mom had 2 pieces of luggage, $30. We came from war-torn El Salvador. Grew up on social housing, just surrounded around negative people. And, I had trouble integrating into the education system here, and ultimately dropped out of high school. I ran with the wrong people, and ultimately, left home and ended up on the streets. So when I was 15 years old, I lived on the streets. I, slept on park benches, and panhandled for change, and just had like some really dark moments. And what changed everything for me, Mark, and before the pod, I was telling you that I've been in business for 30 years, and you're probably wondering, well, he doesn't look like that old. Well, I had a life-changing moment at 17 when I became a dad. 1995, I became a dad, and I had to get my life straightened out, and I got a job. And the jobs back then were paying $5 an hour, and it was a dishwashing job. Hated the job, couldn't quit because I had a family, and so I had to do something. It was out of necessity, and so I started a small business. It was a clothing business back in 1995, in the middle of a recession. People said to me, "You can't start a business. There's a recession." And I always tell people, "Thank God I didn't know the meaning of the word," because it would have stopped me. And so I took that business Canada wide, and I just became this entrepreneur. I loved it. I loved the control I had over my life, and the fact that I could provide for my family. Now the issue, Mark, was that I was very much a consumer. I had no financial literacy. And so I almost ended up in big trouble, almost losing the business through a downturn in the economy, and realized I had to learn something. And so I started to educate myself, learning, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and ultimately landed on the fact that I needed to create a secondary stream of income, but I wanted it to be an indestructible stream. So about 26 years ago, I started investing in real estate. And I also, through the education that I was getting and through reading about all the wealthiest people in the world, I realized that the wealthiest families in the world own commercial, larger assets. And I started to transition to that right from the very beginning, multis. And now, fast forward to what you see now, I have a portfolio across Canada and in the US. And at the same time, about 18 years ago, I started training and coaching people. This is why people know me in the industry. They've come to a lot of my events, and that's kind of how it all started, in a nutshell.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's quite the story. 15 years old, sleeping on a park bench, and then necessity came when you were 17 and said, "Hey, you need to like wake up here. You have another human being that's gonna be relying on you." It's interesting that I know when I started selling real estate back 18 years ago, and we had maxed out our credit cards, and I was recently married, and I had my son coming. Joanna was pregnant, and when I was working, it was that was 2007, so it was kind of right at that. We'll say the recession hit, down in the States, and real estate was not
2008,
sexy.
2009, yeah.
And I remember being in the office just dialing and working late. And I remember an agent coming and she's like, this was like around 9 o'clock. She's like, "Are you pretending to be working in there?" And I remember like it was yesterday because it was like, I answered, "Is like, no, yeah, I'm working." And when I thought about it after, I'm like, I'm just trying to put, like, I got to put food, like, there's no if, like, I have to put food on the table. And then, knocking on doors in winter blizzards and stuff because it's out of necessity. I'm curious
Yeah.
that kind of determination and like it's a must. I wonder like for the how can you engineer? I'm curious just to get your in. This is just like it's really because you've had you had your own situation where it was like you hit a wall and it's like you have to do something and some would have just given up. So
Yeah.
you had grit in there and you made a decision. I'm going to step up here. But I'm curious for maybe the listeners that are out there, what advice would you have for them that maybe they just don't have that motivation to do something big, to step up and to change their life? What advice would you have for them?
Say, review your level of engagement. Review your level of engagement. A big part of the issues that we have today that just people are unengaged, right? And so there's that ladder of engagement. It starts with curiosity. You can be curious about a subject matter or real estate, or you could be curious about investing in a business, starting your own business. That curiosity, I think a lot of people have that curiosity. Oh, wouldn't that be nice, right? Wouldn't that be nice to be the restaurant owner instead of going to the restaurant, or whatever it is. And then the next level is like, okay, after curiosity, there's a level of interest that you have. And some people are going to be interested, and maybe they might even buy a book or two, right? And maybe they'll watch a YouTube video, maybe they'll go on your podcast and listen more. And there's a level of interest where it's no longer curiosity, but now it's like, okay, now I'm really interested in this. And then the next level is like, once you're interested, you're going to make some level of commitment. And that commitment, it's going to depend on you, how much you put into it, what's the level of engagement, how much are you going to go, how deep are you going to go on this subject matter. And I think you know the majority of people stop there. They're like, I'm committed, I want to do this, but I forgot I had to go check this out, or all the things that distract you, right? So is being committed is not good enough. There's a next level, Mark, and that's called obsession. When you are obsessed over something and you have to do it, and that's all you focus on, and you can't even sleep at night because you're excited to come in the next day and take it on again and build and grow, and you're not gonna give up until you get there. Like Kobe, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson. These people are obsessed, and the last level is complete determination, obsession, and determination. And so, what is the level of engagement that you have? And you need to take inventory on that. Are you interested? Are you curious? Well, I'll tell people, like, look, if you want to be successful in anything, it's got to be obsession. It's got to be to a point where you can't think about anything else. That's all you're focused on. I've yet to meet a person in my life that has been completely locked in, obsessed, determined, and hasn't gotten to whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
It's powerful. It's as Napoleon Hill said in his book, right? Think and Grow Rich is like this white hot desire
Yeah.
that you got to really have for something in order to be successful. And I really like those steps that you shared there.
Mhm.
What do you think on a daily, from an activity level basis, that like curiosity to interested to committed to making it like a must, right? So obsession and then complete determination, so people start moving towards it. Is there something that they can do on a regular, say, daily basis to be able to maintain that pace for long sustained period of time? Because I've seen it before. It's like, yeah, I'm not, and they work really hard for like a month or two, and then they just kind of slowly, like you definitely out of
Yeah, but
all
that's not obsession, right?
you're met
That means they're
1,500
committed.
members.
That's a commitment.
Right.
Right, so they commit. I mean, I can commit to going to the gym for 30 days straight,
Yeah.
you know? I can commit to 75 hard. I think I can eat right and exercise for 75 days straight, and, this is called a commitment, but that's not going to change my life because what happens after the 75 days?
What are the ones that keep going with the obsession? What do you think that is there anything that they do different, or is it just like they have a deeper commitment to doing it to get past the 75 days?
Yeah, so look, number 1, you have to have a powerful why, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to there has to be some other force that you're doing it for, and you know there's a driving inside of me. I feel like there's a driving force that keeps me pushing forward just to see how far I can take it. And I've experienced a lot of negativity in my life
Yeah.
that now I'm just like on a I'm headed towards the Mars. I'm going to Mars, and like the way that my brain is wired, it's like there's no other options. There is no plan B. There is no we're gonna figure it out. We're like this is where I'm going, and that comes from having a powerful why. My name is Alfonso Cuadra. They call me the godfather of real estate. I've been in business for over 30 years, in real estate over 26 years. I built a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And now I'm going across North America, talking to people and signing checks. I'm looking for deals because I'm building $1 billion portfolio. Is that you? Let me make an offer you can't refuse. We just don't have enough information to make this decision. There's too many unknowns. And for that reason, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Understanding your why, going deeper on your why. And ultimately, one of my biggest values is legacy. And I understand my values. I understand I understand myself very well. I've done a lot of work on myself, and you have to understand what are your values. And so if you speak to your highest values, if you understand your why,
Mm,
then you won't give up after 75 days, right?
mm,
And for me it's legacy. So I can adopt a mission to be, to become the most healthiest person on the planet, right? But I'm not. It doesn't. It's not part of my highest values, right? It's contrary to who I am and the things that I'm interested in, and what's gonna be the thing that keeps me forward. Now, if I had a heart attack tomorrow, or sometimes it takes a situation or
mm.
something to
Yeah.
happen, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh no, now I want to be healthy because I want to see my grandkids, and I want to see 90 or whatever. That could be a driving force, right? Because it's in alignment with my goals. My highest goal is legacy. My highest value is legacy.
Yeah, that's so good. It's interesting because I know for me, it was like it's changed through the years for me. Um, my not my value so much, but more of like my why or my motivator. I like to call it like what's your stimulus or motivator
Mhm,
that's gonna actually make you wake up early or stay late and like do the thing even when you don't feel like doing it. When
mhm,
when I first started, it was just putting food on the table and proving to my wife's father, he's a successful Polish business guy, right? And I wanted to prove to him that I could provide for his daughter, putting food on the table for my son. And then once we got past that point, then it was more as like status was something, is like getting certain awards that actually was stimulus for me. And then it was building an organization where we built it in a way that could deliver service at a level that I could be proud of. Um, and then it was from there, it was like building an organization big enough where everybody else could hit their goals, right? And then from there it was like, so it's interesting that it can change
Yeah.
as you go along. But like the key is to figure out what that stimulus or that why really is for you. And if you can do that and get really clear, then you can tap into something when it gets hard.
And then you'll see that naturally your level of engagement is going to increase, right? Like, I don't believe in procrastination. I don't believe in lazy. The word lazy, it it if you think about it, it doesn't really exist. It's just not that important to you.
Yeah, that's good. I
That's the
like
truth
that.
because when something is
Yeah.
important, you show up, you know.
Yeah.
I was the kind of kid that when I was growing up, I was late for school 3 out of 5 times, you know, every day I'm always late. My mom did everything in her power to wake me up. It was the hardest. She'd have to pour water on me. I don't know if someone's done that to you, Mark, and you're sleeping and they pour cold water on you, right? And Saturday and Sunday morning, I was up, you won't believe it, 5:59 AM on the dot without an alarm clock. Like, it's you would think that's impossible. How does this kid not wake up every single day? And Saturday morning at 5:59 AM, I was I was up exactly without an alarm clock. How's that possible? Do you remember what was going on Saturday and Sunday when we were growing up?
Cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna sleep in on my
I remember
time.
X-Men back in the day. Saturdays, it was like the one day it was like X-Men was the big show back then. I don't know what it
Yeah,
was for
but you
you.
remember it was like at exactly 6 AM,
Yeah.
cartoon started. There's no way in hell I was gonna sleep in for when it's my time, right?
Yeah.
And so there is no lazy, when I was growing up, they put me in, special classes, and they said, "Oh, this kid is lazy or disorganized," whatever. It just they never taught me anything that resonated with me because the things that were important to me, those are the things that I would excel at. And when now that I'm an adult, I recognize myself, right? I have ADHD or whatever that's called, whatever people label that as, but the one of the gifts of ADHD is the hyperfocus.
Yeah.
And I can when I'm locked in on something, there's nothing else matters in life, right? And so I wish that for everybody. I wish hyperfocus for everyone.
So, Alfonso, I love, love, love how you said there's no lazy. Lazy doesn't exist. It's just not important to you. And
That's
that,
it.
like, it's so interesting. As you were speaking there, I'm like, that is genius on how you summarize that because it's so accurate. I mean, like we have our three boys, and sometimes it's a little harder to get them out of bed. You know, we're going to church in the morning. It's like, okay, we're gonna
Right.
get up, we gotta go. It's like, a lot of times they're up, but in many cases we got to kind of push. But I even look at, so with boys, but then also with me as well, it's like, procrastination even it's coming down to, is it important? Is it a priority to you or not? And if it is, you make it happen. And the times, like if you're showing up on time and you're showing up early, it's because you made it a priority, you made it a must. And if you're not doing it, it's just not that much of a priority, which is fantastic, that mindset, because then you can like all you got to do is identify the things that are important
Yeah,
to you, and
it's
then
a
you can start
compass.
taking action. Yeah, it's a
Well,
compass. I
what
like
how are
that.
your kids on Christmas morning?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
You're trying to sleep. They're like, "Oh my god, can we open our presents? Can we open our presents?" You know?
Well, even for myself, because like that's one of the things. Like I think focus, the ability to focus on one thing for extended period of time I think is one of the strongest skill sets that one can have especially in today's market. I tell the boys, they do keep ups, and my oldest son's he's 17, and his keep up record is over 4,000 keep ups. And I
What's a
said,
keep up?
like with a soccer ball. So
Ah, okay, 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 okay,
he
okay.
he keeps it up. He's like,
Yeah.
for it took him a couple hours to hit that record. But
Wow.
I told him, I said, out of everything that you've learned in school and growing up, I said that your ability to stay focused on one thing for that amount of time, I said, is probably going to be one of your biggest takeaways. Because if you can focus on one thing for an extended period of time, you can do incredible things. And I think with a lot of people in today's market with social media, they're like if their thoughts are the ocean, they're
Yeah.
skimming on the jet ski on top of the ocean, skimming on top and not going deep. Whereas, the best thinkers and the most successful people I find, they go deep in their thinking. They like scuba dive, but they got to slow down to actually think. And that's where I think the ability to focus on one thing is really big. And that's where what you're saying, your skill set, when you get locked in on something, I would imagine that's been a big part of your success as well.
Yeah, I'm like a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, at the end of the day, I don't believe in multitasking. I don't multitask. I do very few things. I don't have email on my phone. I don't have WhatsApp. I get rid of so many apps on my phone. Like I create the environment so I can be successful, right? I create the environment so I can focus. I'll give you $10,000, Mark, if you find a staple, some sort of working material in my house. In my house, there's no, there is no way to work. There's no computer. I don't, if I bring the laptop home, okay, that might be a way. But other than that, when I go home, I switch. I switch to thinking about other things. Maybe hanging out with my wife and doing things. But ultimately, when I'm at home, I'm focused at home. Maybe it's a short amount of time. Maybe I get home late or whatever, but I'm present at home. And I created the environment so I'm not distracted when I'm at home with my kids are older. So, we obviously have dinners and things like that, but I'm not distracted with other things. And when I'm at work, I'm not distracted with anything else. I'm focused on the work. And so I think people need to create the environment in their lives so they can be successful and more focused. But what happens is people bring the work into bed with them. They're
Yeah.
they're they're
Yeah.
bringing the work home. Their table. If you're watching this and your table, your kitchen table is packed with papers and documents and things, you're doing this wrong, in my opinion. Right. So you have to create separations in life so you can be more productive when you go back to those things.
That's good. Alfonso, you're running a fairly large organization right now. You have 50 team members that you're overseeing. What would be the top 1 to 3 activities that are most important to you that you're like, these are the 1 to 3 things that I need to do in order for my company to continue to grow and be healthy?
So the one thing that I had to learn really early on in my career, so I started my business at 17 years old in 1995. Um, I used to think that leadership meant you're the boss, and if you're the boss, people have to listen to you. What I realized that um, a leader without followers is just someone taking a walk, right? And so it can be very lonely if you're just a boss. Now, what I've dedicated my life to is developing my own leadership, understanding leadership, uh, going deep on leadership, and I'm the kind of guy that will read one book over and over and over and over again until I understand it, I've digested it, I've used all the concepts versus, I see people online. I read 100 books this year. Well, you know what? Uh, One of the most powerful books that I ever read was the 21 rules of irrefutable rules of leadership and the 5 levels of leadership. I've read those books like over and over and over, and uh, because I needed to know to go, I needed to develop my own leadership so I can go to the next level. Right, the next level is going to be determined on the skill levels that I create within myself. How valuable am I to the marketplace? And so,
Mm,
one of the biggest parts of leadership is developing other leaders. So first, you have to develop yourself as a leader, then you got to develop other leaders. And as we develop other leaders, the organization can grow because now not everything is dependent on me. Nobody has to call me. Now I've developed other leaders and the leadership of other people, and you got to invest in people, right? And so the more you invest in people, the more you allow them to learn, grow, and become leaders for themselves. then they will develop other leaders, and then the organization continues to grow.
So good. Oh man, that was gold. Gold, Alfonso. So it's interesting. The Bible, I find, for me, has been like a really good, we'll say, playground to even find business principles. And one
I
of the things,
agree.
going back,
I agree. I mean, the Bible is the number one best-selling all-time personal development book of in history of
yeah.
all of the times. You know what I
So,
mean?
here's where I was going with it. So we're on the same page there. But like Moses, what he was doing when he was first, leading, was there was this big lineup and everybody was going to him to fix their problem, and then Jethro, his father-in-law, comes along and says, "Hey, Moses, this isn't a good thing." He's like, you need to have other leaders, and you need to be focused on the most important, uh, uh, say, challenges. And so then they basically broke down their first org chart
Yeah.
for the Israelites, right? And then there was
Mm.
like basically tens and fifties, and they broke that down. But that is so big. Is like developing leadership is something that it's not talked a lot about. But I love how you started with like, you're the lid, right? Yourself.
Mhm.
You got to develop yourself as a leader, and once you do that, then you will be you'll be in a position where other leaders will see you, and they'll be attracted to you because of your ability to then develop them. But
Yeah.
first, you got to develop yourself to level up so that other leaders can look at you and say, "Yeah, that's somebody that I believe I can follow."
Mhm.
And that is, I really love how you said those two. It's like developing yourself and developing other leaders, and then your company can grow. Love that. That's such great advice.
Thank you.
All right. You have currently, right now, you have 1,500 members. You've seen people come, you've seen investors go, you've seen successful, and you've seen uber successful. You shared some really good insights of some of the things that they do. What other items or activities or things do the uber successful members that come on, they come on from a member standpoint, and then they just blew it up and they were
Yeah.
super successful? What are the biggest things that they've done that separate them from the others in your group?
Well, the thing is, an organization like Wealth Genius, so we have 1,500 members. Uh, there's a entry fee, right? And so I always tell people, you pay attention. It's like when you pay
Yeah.
attention. That's just how it is. If everything was free, I mean, you can go chat GBT. You can, yeah, how do I buy a multifamily? Go chat GBT. He's going to tell you. But what is that going to do, right? Ultimately, the investment that someone makes in themselves already puts them at a level of engagement that other people don't have. And so we've built the membership to 1,500 engaged members across Canada and the US. So we do have a membership in the US. And ultimately, we've seen the people that have had the most success within our organization, the people that have gone to the top and have really overcome all of the things in the industry and all those things, are people that are the most engaged, people that help other people that come to every event. We every twice a year we have our expand investor conference. And so there's people, this is our eighth one that we're doing. There's people that don't miss it. They don't even dare miss it. And so there are people that we consistently see that are engaged all the time. Those are the people that are actually, you know, doing better than everybody else. It's the most engaged, the people that are most plugged in. Those are the people that benefit the most and attract the most people, raise the most capital. It's just a matter of like engagement
Mm, love that.
and
It's
action.
something
Engagement, action, because
in action.
engagement leads to action. Because if you're plugged in, tuned in to what's going on, then you're going to take appropriate action, and the mixture of those two.
Yeah, it seems so simple. You just show up, keep showing
Yeah,
up,
keep showing
and
up,
then
right?
do what you say you're going to do. Show up and do it again
That's
and
it.
again and again.
Yeah.
Simple, not easy, right? You just got to do it.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. All right. Well, we're coming up on our time here. We have three final questions for rapid fire, Alfonso, and then we're
Okay,
going to wrap
cool.
it up. You ready?
Yeah, this was fun.
All right. So we shared some good books here. Was there a book that's made the biggest? Well, like, what book would you say if you were to kind of identify as like this book has made the biggest impact in my career?
Well, it has to be one of the classics, right? If we're talking about the biggest impact,
Yeah.
um, and I'm gonna give you two, and if you ask the same question, you probably hear the same answers, right? And it's Think and Grow Rich and uh, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? I uh, I was not aware of all of this before I read those books. When I started to read those books, it made me instantly aware of everything around me, right? And so that was kind of like the gateway to hundreds of books that I've read. But most recently, I've adopted a a strategy of reading one or two books a year and just really digesting that book and just taking massive action. And so, Think and Grow Rich is another one of those books I've probably read more than 10 times, cover to cover. Um, Rich Dad Poor Dad, probably another 10, 15 times cover to cover. Because, there's a lot of things that you miss the first time when you first read it. And, if someone's listening to this and they haven't read any of those books and they keep hearing it all over, like, it seems like a cliche thing. Like, everybody says those books. Well, there's a reason why, because those books are transformational.
Yeah. And I love how you said that about it's not just reading it once, it's reading it over and over and over. Actually, it was another classic book. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in
Yeah.
the beginning, Dale Carnegie, he says like, this is not the book to be read once. It's
Yes.
a book to be read over and over. And like he identified that back, I think, I don't know, it was like 40s or 50s. I'm not even sure when he wrote, but it was old. But these books, you're so right, because you change as a person. You might read it 1 year later and you see things different. So that's a really good point, really good insight that you gave there. Keep reading the classic books because you'll see different things. Second question: three words, Alfonso, that people who know you best. How would they best describe you in 3 words?
Energy, fun, and the last one would be The Godfather.
Final question here, Alfonso, is what final advice would you have for the listeners out there?
If you're listening to this and you probably have a lot of followers on your podcast, and you probably bring on a lot of successful people. Um, and if you find yourself listening to something and listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, but you're not doing anything, I would say grab onto a concept and go and like turn everything off and go and do something, because the most powerful thing that you can do in your life is take action. And if nothing happens, nothing happens. And you will continue to get the same results if you continue to do the same things over and over. That's Einstein. And so if you're listening all the time and you're watching YouTube videos and you're reading books, but nothing is changing in your life, it's probably because you're over educating yourself. You got an information overload. And sometimes people have this feeling that just getting the information is good enough. They're doing something. You're not doing anything. You're feeding your mind, and it's positive. I would grab onto a concept and turn everything off and go execute for the next 6 months, and then come back and get another concept and then go and execute for the next 6 months after that.
Yeah, excellent advice. Excellent, excellent. Alfonso, really appreciate you coming on the show. For the listeners, maybe they want to learn a little bit more about Wealth Genius, learn more about your company and get engaged in the community. What's the best way they can find out more?
Listen, I'm highly Googleable. Go Google me. Find me on Instagram, Alfonso Quadra, wealthgenius.ai. alfonsocuadra.com, expandwealthfund.com. I'm Google. I'm everywhere.
Join us for our 10th and biggest Expand Investor Conference. And this year, this November, we are doing it in Calgary, Alberta. Yeah! And it's gonna be a big one. And I want you to go and get your tickets right away. Our Expand Investor Conference, our 10th edition of our Expand Investor Conference is happening in Alberta. Get your tickets right away.